All right, so this is the first day of this small 40 by 40 yard buckthorn removal. This is going to be a complete reversal of this habitat. Look what it looks like right now. Here, I'll turn the video around. This is what it looks like right now. We got a bunch of dead cedar skeletons that probably died like 10 years ago. This buckthorn is just getting massive. Another dead cedar tree there. Another dead cedar here. And this all used to be cow pasture. And there used to be grass in here 15, 20 years ago. I got a couple scattered willows that are still alive. The top 2 feet have leaves. I'm gonna leave this tree alive, and eventually I'm gonna flush cut it so it can shoot up a bunch of sprouts. But anyways, I came through here a couple weeks ago. You can see the areas I didn't spray. See how green all the vegetation is? And you look in here, buckthorn, 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 I mean, it's coming up everywhere. And that's with it being shaded, the canopy. So as soon as I kill all these trees, it's going to be a carpet of green germinating buckthorn. I got a pretty good kill. You can see some of these right here. This is all ones that were, it's hard to find them really. They're already shriveled up and died, but there's a couple patches in here that I must have missed. Like right here, there's a couple that survived. Right here's a patch that, I mean, this is all solid buckthorn. There really is nothing in here worth saving. As soon as I take out this giant canopy, there'll be probably a few more box elder and other, like maybe some elms. I'm just gonna have to spray them because it's gonna be so hard to go around them. And I want to pretty much eradicate as much of this germinating buckthorn as I can. All next year, I'm gonna continue to spray this probably 3 to 4 times. I'm gonna come in here today. I'm gonna start girdling these buckthorn. Some of these little ones like this will just get flush cut, and I'll just leave it standing. I'm not gonna worry about hauling any of this brush out of here or anything. It'll just, all these big ones, I'm gonna girdle with the chainsaw, double girdle, poison the bottom ring with about a mix of 50% diesel, 50% triclopyr. You can get the triclopyr 4 or the triclopyr 3. You would probably work with 2,4-D, but 2,4-D doesn't mix well with diesel. I would use something stronger than glyphosate, and you don't have to put it on. If you're using glyphosate, you might as well just put it on straight. It's a little weaker chemical than triclopyr or 2,4-D. You could probably put 2,4-D on straight. The triclopyr is definitely a little bit more pricey, but if I mix it about half and half with diesel, you could probably even go 2/3 diesel, 1/3 triclopyr. Basically, the time of year to do this is not in the spring, not in June. You want to wait till about like end of July, like it is now, till November. You could probably do it in December, January as well. But once the tree starts waking up in the spring, the sap starts flowing, and you're not going to get nearly as good of a kill. The tree might die eventually, but it might take a year, because I girdled some, not buckthorn, but some black cherry trees and other weed trees this spring, put the triclopyr on, and I don't know how they're growing. They're still alive. Some of them are looking kind of weak, like they're probably going to die here in the next couple months. But you want to do it in the end of summer till the end of fall is the prime time. And like I said, I will be flush cutting. This one looks like it's already dead. The buckthorn has choked itself out. This area used to be a lot thicker. Half of this dead stuff on the ground is buckthorn that has choked itself out and shaded itself out. But all these, super easy to go around here. Double ring with the chainsaw, poison the bottom ring. This tree will be dead in a month. I'm gonna take the drone up later when all these trees start turning brown. You'll be able to clearly see the area that I've treated. I mean, clearly the deer are walking through here right now. They have a couple heavy trails in this opener area. I'm gonna leave it open along the field there, along the food plot for travel. And all this up here is where we had the buckthorn mowed down. I probably would have been just as good off just by poisoning it all standing. I'm gonna take you over. So this is the area that we had mowed. And I treated all this ground for germinating buckthorn, so that's why there's nothing coming up yet. There will be stuff that comes up eventually. I got most of it. Hopefully next year I won't have to treat it as much. I have some pine trees planted in here. They look absolutely phenomenal because they're just growing in zero competition. I already got them caged because the deer, with no competition around, munched off surprisingly a lot of them, because there's a lot of deer here in the wintertime. And you can see there's definitely still a lot of them that are in here. So I'm gonna have to treat some of this again eventually. I'll take you over to what this whole area, the standing buckthorn, this was all mowed down in the fall, in the winter of 22, December of 22. So it's on its second year now. And I've killed some of these ones that have sprouted back with the triclopyr. And some of these other ones, I'm just gonna have to cut off next spring. Now they're about the size of your finger. You can actually get the chainsaw to cut them off and treat the stump. This is probably 1/3 of an acre here, probably a 1/2 acre over there. I'm gonna take you over to this little 20 by 20 yard square where I treated every buckthorn. You can see all these dead trees. That's all dead buckthorn. The green ones that are in there are either box elder or willows. And eventually might be 1 or 2 scattered cedars in there too. Eventually I'm gonna cut off those willows. I mean, we've got all these native prairie plants, some of them coming up in here. And this is the area where I have some dogwood planted. Red osier dogwood, it's doing all right. Some of them I stacked the brush around it, but I accidentally killed some of them when I was spraying with the triclopyr. But we got some willows regrowing. That's a willow bush coming up. And I do have switchgrass seeded in here. I seeded the switch very light because I don't want solid switch. And the triclopyr, look at this willow coming up like crazy right here too. And this whole area 2 years ago used to be just as open as that whole area. And we're getting so much browse in here. The deer are eating on buckthorn. They've been nipping back some of this buckthorn, but I'm gonna try and eradicate all these stumps that are growing back because this stuff's getting huge in 2 years. We got some wildflowers coming up. Like I said, there is buckthorn in here. Here's a cherry tree coming up, black cherry. We got raspberries growing everywhere. This is a small spot where the raspberries came in super fast. I didn't treat it at all with triclopyr because the raspberries came in and choked out most of the buckthorn. It's actually starting to choke out some of these willows that are trying to push their way through here. Here's like a willow. So you can see the switchgrass here is on its second year. It's already about, well, probably 5 feet. A little bit of switch. Anyways, this is the area I did last year. I'll pull up some drone footage right now. Got a hybrid willow or hybrid poplar tree in there. That's its first year. It was like only halfway up the tube and it grew. I mean, these things are unbelievable how fast these hybrid poplars grow. They're better than the hybrid willows, in my opinion. This is all dead buckthorn, a couple alive willows in there that I will cut down, like I said. I have switchgrass seeded in here. And I've treated this area, I think 2, maybe 3 times. I seeded a little patch of just normal grass, like a lawn, so the deer can bed right in this grass circle. I probably should have did a little bit more in here, but it's whatever. I got switchgrass coming up in here. I got tons of buckthorn still coming up in here that have survived or I've just missed. And these things have grown a lot. They used to be only like those little sprigs, and now they're, you know, getting close to a foot tall, some of them that are alive. I got pine trees over here too. Another wildflower thing coming up. And I do have some miscanthus in here, along with scattered switchgrass that will be, you know, full height in 2 years. Here's a first year miscanthus, 3 or 4 feet tall. You can see some of these have already snapped off because they're small. I'm just gonna create a jungle in here. I will have to come through here when some of these really big ones. You can see my double girdle right here. You only got to go in about anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, a little bit deeper on the bigger ones. And like I said, you can just flush cut some of those small ones. It'll be actually faster to flush cut the small ones than it will be to girdle, but these big ones, just kill them standing. This thing's gonna tip over eventually. All those have snapped off and started to tip over. And all this switchgrass, eventually, all this, like right here, there's no buckthorn alive. There might be a couple here and there, and maybe a couple that'll grow. We got some wild strawberry in here, horse nettle, whatever this is. I'm just trying to get rid of as much buckthorn as possible before I stop spraying the triclopyr in here. And hopefully I'm done in this spot. A little thicket right there, some buckthorn that I missed. Eventually all this stuff will crumble apart, fall down, and create an absolute mess. I'll have to go through here and clean up a couple deer trails, a couple openings where they can bed. And eventually this vegetation will be just as tall as that. That's the area that I hand cleared probably getting close to 5 years ago now. That's all goldenrod. There's some buckthorn coming in there, but the grass and the goldenrod, there's trees, elm trees, young willows, natural dogwood coming up in this dark ground, whatever was in the seed bank here. It's looking phenomenal. And that was all open buckthorn 5 to 7 years ago. And I think this is the long-term best way to do it. Just kill it standing, let it fall down and create some immediate cover. Let all this natural stuff come up through the dead cover, and just try and kill as much buckthorn as you can when it's little like this, so you don't have to cut it out. But I hate to keep spraying here because I keep getting all these good plants that are coming up. Even some vines. Vines are good. Anything but buckthorn is good. Here's a miscanthus actually that I must have planted this spring. A little bit smaller. Whatever these are, there's some of these. I planted this little black willow. I got some black willows in another spot with tubes, but I ran out of tubes. And I might buy some more black willow and just leave them in here untubed. I mean, there's deer around, but there's not like an insane amount. This thing actually has been able to grow a little bit. So that's pretty surprising that they're not really browsing on this stuff as bad as I thought. There's some natural ash trees. Here's one that's been getting browsed. Just a natural regeneration. Got some goldenrod starting in here, but there's a lot of buckthorn right here too. So if I come in here and spray the triclopyr right here, most likely it'll kill the ash, the goldenrod, all the stuff I want to save. So that's why the first year you open this up, it's hard. You got to go around. It's nice to go around some stuff. I went around these ash trees. That's why they're here. That's why all this buckthorn's here. Like, look at this sucker. He's already over a foot tall. Where if I would have just nuked this whole area, it would have been hopefully bare like this. And then second year, you can, like I said, that area over there, I'm not going to go around anything. I'm just going to nuke the whole area. I'm going to kill trees that are coming up that I want to save, but it's hard to go around this stuff and get rid of the buckthorn. Now I got to come in here and hand pull this buckthorn or cut it off eventually if I want it gone. Now that I have like nice little trees coming up. And I can always come in and throw in a whole bunch of box elder seed or silver maple seed. I can plant pine trees. I can collect and save dogwood berries and keep them in the fridge over the winter. I noticed there was a couple over here in the open area. There was a couple walnuts coming up. And obviously the deer do not like to eat the walnuts. They were just naturally in here. I might bring a couple walnuts. This is pretty dark ground for oaks. I'd have to find a swamp white oak. Red oaks and white oaks are not going to do good in this peat ground. But if I find a swamp white oak, maybe I'll collect a bunch of acorns this fall, save them, keep them in the fridge over winter, save some walnuts, and maybe just, this is a real small spot, so I'm not going to need a whole lot of seed. If you did an acre of this, or 2 acres, you're talking a lot more work, and you're going to have to, you know, it's definitely good, but you got to do it in manageable chunks. That's why this 40 by 40 yard area is the next area I'm going to work on. Not much. I have a couple other areas I can work on here, but for the most part, most of it's opened up. And I got a heck of a lot of work next year cutting these out one by one. I don't want to let that buckthorn get too big. Those are ones that were mowed down in the fall or winter of 22. And we got giant ragweed in here. This thing is just really good cover during early season. Got jewelweed in here. This is really good browse. So this was all wide open, bare dirt and dead stick buckthorn no more than 2 years ago. And it's just totally changed. And it's only going to get better and better. More browse, more woody browse. Right now there's a ton of like green browse, but I want the woody browse. I want the willows. I want the dogwood. I want everything but buckthorn in here. There's a little bit of scattered honeysuckle, but the honeysuckle doesn't do the best in this peat ground, so that's why it's not really prevalent in here. There is some of this. This is elderberry. This is a good native, good deer browse. Doesn't get the biggest. That's why it's getting choked out. There is some patches here. I'll show you that right now. I'm gonna upload this video right now. I'm gonna have a follow-up video and some more videos of the new area. So this is turned into a video right now. I'm just gonna upload and get this out. This is all within about a 3 to 5 acre bedding area over here in the buckthorn. We got about a 1 acre plot right there. Here's a nice willow. I killed the buckthorn right next to it. The deer have a good trail going in right here. And I'll put up a whole bunch of drone footage, like I said, at the end of the video of what this area looked like at the end of summer last year. This was an area I haven't sprayed any triclopyr here because this spring, all this vegetation, these buckthorn were pretty scattered in here. It was not a closed canopy. There's an elderberry bush there. There was a little bit of dogwood in here that's still alive, like this dogwood right here on the edge. You see a couple little berries starting. Those are the ones you want to save. I sprayed a trail right here for him, the triclopyr trail. Knocked down a little bit of vegetation. But this greened up so fast in the spring. It choked out most of the buckthorn because, like I said, this was a partial canopy. There was already vegetation in here about knee high every year mixed amongst these buckthorn. But now that I got rid of all the canopy, this stuff is really taking off. Here's a dogwood plant that's dead. It's top dead. It's still alive somewhat. I would assume it's going to start shooting up some more. There's a dogwood over there. That's all new growth right there on top of like a primarily dead plant. That's about like 1.5 feet of growth. There was a couple dogwoods in here that I wanted to save. And I planted a silver maple. I don't want to walk through here too much. This is some pretty bad stinging nettles, but you can see it coming up in the tube. That tree was like only about that tall, and it's grown a good 2 feet and be out of the tube next year. Another silver maple over there. I got hybrid poplars over there, some cottonwoods that I planted years ago over there. So this is just completely changed in 1 year. And the rest of this I might leave open because we access right through that grass trail over there. I'm not sure if I want the deer to improve the bedding right next to where we access. I always could in the future. This is about another probably close to a 1/2 acre of buckthorn right here that I could do something with in the future. Here's an area where I put in some grass seed. It's not doing the best. Thinking like this would be where the deer would bed. I could probably find some deer hair in here, but I don't think there's been a whole lot of deer out here recently. But come the fall, in the winter, they'll be bedding right in these spots right here when we're not out here as much. You can see this one's all girdled, killed off, the bark's peeling off. Pretty good sized buckthorns just killed in a matter of minutes. The jewelweed is literally 6 feet tall right there. So this used to be pretty much bare dirt in here almost last year. So that's just a quick look of what I'm trying to create in those other spots. I'm gonna have more videos of the new area, probably coming out eventually, maybe a year from now, of how that changes. Here's some that I tried to drill holes into and kill. It worked okay, but I ended up having to come back and kind of girdle and scratch it up and put some more poison in. Putting these holes only killed about half the canopy and half the tree survived. Girdling and poisoning the bottom girdle, or you could probably just do one girdle, but I'm doing 2 just to make sure they do die, because that's not a huge treatment here. These are pretty small areas that I'm working on. Here's another silver maple, and here's that elderberry I was telling you about. This is a good native. The deer like browsing on that. They like rubbing on it. It's just anything I can get in here that's not buckthorn is going to be better browse, and all in better bedding eventually than just bare dirt and dead sticks like it was. All right, so hope you enjoyed this little interesting video. I guess I'll have maybe a couple other scattered videos like this coming out eventually, other than just food plot videos. Just really trying to improve the little bit of bedding that we do have to make it as best as possible for these deer. And like I said, the more does I get over here, the more bucks will be over here during the rut, obviously. All these dead buckthorn, just a sight of beauty. That one's still alive a little bit, so that's one I might have to go back and treat eventually. But for now, there's still plenty of sunlight getting in. All right, well, I'll see you in the next video.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too.